Hi guys, let us continue. In the previous session and also the video, we have covered till client server communication, in which we dealt with the graphic servers as well. So here the graphic server plays an important role with respect to what we are actually displaying on the monitors. It plays a very important role with respect to the client server communications as well. In this case, we'll be learning about display lists. The basic aspects of display lists goes through the early stages of the computer graphics, and they help with the computer communication with respect to the client server communications. The basic structure was like this: simple graphic structure, architecture. A host which is requesting for a service from the monitor, like he's trying to open some application, you can say, and the CRT is responsible for showing that output to the host. So in this case, the host is having a processing system like your computer devices. CPU will be there. In the basic systems, the graphics were held by the CPU itself. The same processor was used both for general computations and also the display computations. Although it used to provide us with the required displays, it had a disadvantage that it was an overhead on the host system, because it was supposed to do general computations and also the graphics computations. And hence, there was a development of another architecture, which is display processor architecture. As you can see here, the difference between the two architectures, there is an additional component. Now, they introduced a display processor which is responsible for only the display. Whatever that needs to be displayed on the monitor will be processed only by the display processor. In case you need to retain something for the future use, we can make use of display file. So the display processor allocated a memory for display file as well to store the graphics to be displayed on the monitors. Here in this case, this architecture has overcome the disadvantage of the previous architecture, where the computation was, everything was in the host itself. So now burden on the host system has been reduced due to the introduction of display processor. The next thing what we talk about is graphic server architecture. Of course, we have a display processor, but in what way do I want to display the graphics? Is it something I want to display directly and just forget about it? Or do I have to store it and retain it in the future use? That's why these work with two modes: the immediate mode and retained mode. The immediate mode will display the graphics directly. That is, it's not going to store anything for permanent as a permanent memory. As soon as the processing is done for the graphics to be displayed, it's going to be displayed directly onto the monitor. In case you want to retain it, then we will be making use of the retained mode. That's where we make use of the display lists. In both the cases, display processor is there, but in the second case, the display list comes into act to store the objects. For example, the program that you have executed in the lab, whatever programs you have executed, everything is just going to run the program that you have written. As and when you are selecting a particular code for execution, it's going to just compile it, build it, and run it. Whereas the retained mode is nothing but where you're actually making use of existing objects. Of course, you have such program also in your lab. So when you came across the color cube program or the perspective view program, the triangle program, all these things made use of definition given by the programmer itself. But the retained mode is something you find in the table program, the teapot program, in which you are making use of the existing defined objects like the teapot and also the cube. The cube was used to generate the walls of the room and also the table legs, table surface, isn't it? And teapot was already defined. So retained mode is nothing but we have already defined an object, and that object will be stored in a file. This you can do with any other object. This is just an example. So an object is defined and stored somewhere. Whenever we need, we'll be actually using that object definition for display on the monitor. That's a retained mode. Immediate mode is nothing but in the program I'm directly representing what I want to display, and as soon as I run the program it's going to display on the desktop. But it is not going to be stored permanently in the memory. In retained mode we are going to store it. So how do we deal with these lists? There are two basic functions used for generation of a particular list. GL new list, GL end list. The GL new list represents the beginning of the definition of a list. The list is nothing but the display list, the one which is defining a particular object. GL end list defines or represents the end of the definition of the list. GL new list takes two parameters. The first parameter is the name of the list that you want to create, and the second part is how you want to use the particular object that you are going to define. That is, whether you want to just compile and keep it, or do you want to compile and execute immediately. Those two variables will be given as input for GL new list. The way to use these functions is given here. There's a mistype here, box you should be having. So GL new list will take two parameters, name of the object, it is named as box, and the symbolic constant representing how you want to use this object. GL compile represents that I am going to just compile this display list and keep it ready. Only if it is asked, it is going to just display on the monitor. There is one more, which is compile and execute. That is GL compile underscore and underscore execute. If you are using this symbolic constant, it is going to display the object immediately. But this is a defined display list. But do I want to display it immediately or not? That will be done by this particular symbolic constant. And as you can see here, within the display list definition, you have your general GL begin and GL end concept. That means any object can be defined in a regular way that you always defined. But when you put it within new list and end list, it's going to create it like a list. So this example is creating a square with the color red. Here, this is where I am going to make use of the list. The name of the list I have given it as box. So in the code, when I want to retain this particular object, when I want to make use of it, here is how I do. General way. This also I have already come across, but the only difference is I am going to make use of the list. So GL projection, matrix mode set, and for loop if required, but for this example they have taken. So for I equal to 1 less than 2 less than 5, it's going to call for call list. So for these many times it's going to load identity and GL ortho 2DI. Here this particular example deals with appearance of the box at different positions. I'll be sending you this particular code depending upon the value of I. So here I equal to 1 means now ortho 2D, there's nothing but my two-dimensional space where the object to be displayed will be set with these values. I equal to 1 means minus 2, 2, minus 2, 2. And then again that is x mean x max, y mean y max. If it is 2 means it becomes 4 minus 4, 4, minus 4, 4. So its definition changes. And at that particular location, you are going to, at that particular step, you are going to get the box. When you see the execution, you will get to know how it is actually done. Now, the definition of these objects can be done using these functions, which you have already come across in the table program. Now, you have two types, that is matrix function and attribute function. Push and pop are the functions with the stack. So we have two types of stacks here, that is matrix stack and attribute stack. When you want to define a particular object and its transformations, you're going to do with the help of push matrix and pop matrix functions. And whatever is defined between push and pop, they will be actually applied for the latest object. The same thing applies for the attribute of the object. So within the push attribute, push attribute and pop attribute, whatever statement you're putting with respect to the attributes, they will be extracted for the latest object. Then you have text and display lists. There are two types of texts, that is stroke and raster text. So stroke is nothing but what you're actually seeing here. Smooth writing or whatever you write on the paper, everything is a stroke text. Raster is something which makes use of the pixels, and it has its own specification with respect to the requirements of the memory. So the raster is going to make use of 12 cross 10 okay, the raster is going to make use of 12 cross 10 bits. It is nothing but it is 15 bytes. Now we are talking about a single character. A single character needs 12 cross 10 bit data, pixel data you can tell, that is 12 rows into 10 columns, and each character taking 15 bytes of memory. So here is a sample they have given for the stroke text. The two types of stroke text, that is filled and magnified. Filled means is a general text you are going to draw. This is a filled type of a stroke character. Whereas the magnified outlines means you are going to draw the outlines of the original characters. This you may have done on the papers for your names or anything for time pass. You may have done to write some words in differently, right? So with the outline also you might have already checked out. So here this outline character example has been given for you all. This is one of the sample to draw the outlined O, case O, and there is a definition which is incomplete but considered for lowercase and uppercase letters. In this case we are taking the uppercase O letter, and translate function is made use of for translating the required structure to be drawn for highlighting the outlines of the O letter. Here in this case we are drawing with the help of the quad strip logic, but the output will look like an outlined O structure. For this we need 12 different values, 12 different vertices, and the angle which is represented in the radians format, degrees were converted to radians. Each time for each point we have the orientation or change in the angle with this particular value, whatever will be converted from degrees to radians. And here, since there is an angular difference with respect to x-axis, we are going to make use of cos. With respect to y-axis, we are going to make use of sine of angle. So I'll be sending you the code for drawing the O letter as well with the help of this logic. So here the O letter is drawn in this way. So from the first point till the last point generated, we have totally 12 points available here connected to each other with the help of the quad strip logic. In turn, the O letter looks like this. So as soon as you see this, you can easily understand that we have approximated this with the help of the line segment, and this looks like an outlined O character. So in the same way we can generate character sets. Now in this case you can see a new function defined. The function is GL genList. It's going to generate the lists. So in this case I'm passing 256 as parameter. It means that we are going to generate 256 character set. So base is defined with the genList of 256, and now this base is going to be used in order to generate on the graphics. So in this case here, to obtain the index of characters that has been defined in base, that has been assigned to base, we will be making use of the for loop. In this case, GL new list, first parameter is what? Name. So in this case, name is nothing but whatever is your base plus of I. It's nothing but we are going to obtain that particular value from the defined list. Then our font, this may be one more function defined in order to actually represent that particular object, like how we have used GL begin and GL end. Our font function will be defining GL begin, GL end. So in turn, it's going to extract the definition for a particular character, given character, based upon the return value of base plus I. So here, in order to use this particular display list defined, we are going to make use of list base of base. So we are going to pass the base value, that is base parameter for list base. In turn, we are going to obtain the values, that is use these display list for our display purpose. So how means we are going to draw individual characters from the set of 256 characters. We can draw individual characters using this particular function. Next, if you want to draw the string, that is the string on the output screen, then we can make use of this particular approach. So we are going to first define a character parameter and then again use call list function, in which I'm going to set up whatever that is for first parameter is the length of the string. So already I have created character of text string. The same thing will be assigned here as a length of the string. Then GL byte, it is to represent in a byte format, that is to be extracted. Then again the actual string. So actual string, we are going to extract that particular string. So in this case, what happens, we will be making use of the for loop, and then again at a particular iteration, like k iteration means kth character will be actually extracted from this particular function.